Nazgul exponse. Thank you very much.
Hello. Thank you very much. Хочу выразить большую благодарность моей коллеге Джилдыс и всем организаторам. В связи с тем, что у меня языковой барьер, я попросила свою коллегу. Это научно-исследовательская работа, только начатая. Определяется, изменяет разновидность беспозвоночных животных. Эта работа будет очень долго продолжаться. Спасибо вам за большую такую работу. Thank you very much.
Professor Mihela, I just speak one last sentence.
Yes, it was a real pleasure to have all the faculty members and all delegates experts.
Yeah, actually, this Nazgul was upset, and then they quickly decided
and then,
to.
She succeeded, and it was amazing. I think it was a very, very nice session, and I wish good luck to everybody. And of course, I need to tell to everybody that it is a really, really hard work for you, Hasrat, to communicate in between all of us. Thank you very much for everything.
Thank you so much. Professor Hafizur Rahman, please take over. We have 5 minutes, but Professor Hafizur Rahman.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, please take over.
Thank you. Okay. Can you hear me? You can see me, hopefully.
Yeah.
The presenter.
You have the 5 minutes still. We can wait.
Yeah.
Can give a pause.
I just organized faculty members will present. Are they all joined here or not? I'm just checking.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Dr. Pradeep Mehta is here. He's a co-host now. And I'm looking for, yeah, 3 years. Okay. I will start at after 4 minutes. Yeah, in your time it is 14 to 30.
Yeah, 4 minutes we have.
Yeah, 4 minutes. Okay, I will start.
We can begin, sir.
Can you hear me? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to the technical session 1.3. The title of today's technical sessions was mountain ecosystems, freshwater ecosystems, forest ecosystems, and environmental issues. This is the last session of today's technical sessions. Today we have 4 presentations and 5 designated lectures. In this session, actually, our learned
Professor Hafizur Rahman has some connectivity problem, I guess. So, Professor, you have some connectivity problem. You switch on your mic. Your mic is switched off.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. You have some connectivity problem, we guess.
Yes, I had some connectivity problem. Sorry,
Okay.
should I continue?
Yes, please do.
Okay, please. Thank you. So we know about the environment. Environment consists of different aspects: the natural resources, ecosystems, biodiversity, pollutions, and some social aspects. Today, the physical aspects of the environment will be discussed among different experts. Will discuss on the different environmental issues, mainly pollution issues, anthropogenic threats, and biological aspects, ecological restoration issues will be discussed. The first lecture will be on environmental problems and issues in mountains. So every lecture will be 30 minutes each. As I am doing both the chair and co-chair responsibility in this session, I will just notice before the closing of your time. Our first expert is Dr. Pradeep Mehta. He is founder, trustee, and honorary chairman of Central Himalayan Institute for Nature and Applied Research in India. His specialized area, he is specialized in participatory research and development in forestry, biodiversity, ecosystem services, climate change, natural resource management, freshwater, community development, rural livelihoods, environmental, indigenous food systems, human wildlife conflict, citizen science, social research, documentation, and participatory capacity development approaches. It is really honor to have Dr. Pradeep Mehta. I'm requesting Dr. Pradeep Mehta to deliver his valuable speech.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Syed, and thank you, Dr. Hasrat, for giving this opportunity. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from whichever part of the world you're joining this summer school, and hope you're having good session so far. This is day 2, and welcome to this session. As Dr. Syed already mentioned what this session is about. And let me just go to the next slide. Yes, environmental problems and issues in the mountains. Most of you already know, you have been working in the mountains, or you have been studying about mountain ecosystems and all. You are familiar with the problems that we face. So this presentation will be more like a recap for you, what has been happening in the mountains. But at the same time, I'll be sharing some examples from the Indian Himalayas, related to this topic. And at the same time, I would also request you all to make this a two-way communication. So in the chat, you can mention some of the examples, the case studies from your respective countries and your respective region. So coming to the environmental problems, as we all know that, mountains are known for their aesthetic and cultural values. But at the same time, mountains are very fragile. Mountains, they pose many difficulties as well. So looking to some of the main problems that are being faced in the mountains. So one, coming to the forest ecosystems, there we can see that, there is problem of forest degradation. If you see, if you, just go to Google, and if you try to zoom the villages in the mountains, especially in the Indian mountains, where the dependency of the community is more on forest for fodder and fuel wood, you will see that the forests in those areas are mostly degraded. And forest degradation is not only about the forest cover, but it is also about the quality of forest that we have. Not just having a forest cover is enough, because forests, they give us so many different ecosystem services. And if we see an oak forest compared to a pine forest, so we see that we get more ecosystem services from the forest of oak compared to pine. Here also you can see the pine forest, the canopy is so open, while if we see the oak forest, the canopy is so dense. The undercover is also very green over there. The moisture content is quite good in these kind of forests. But at the same time, if we see the pine forest, it is, the crown is open, the sunlight reaches the ground, very quickly. And at the same time, we see the pine needles, they are almost toxic for the soil, and which leads to low quality of the soil degradation. Here we can see, because of the degradation of the forest, we see the degradation of the soil. And once this kind of situation happens, millions tons of soil gets washed away from the mountains. And if we see the Himalayas, and if we see the foothills of the Himalayas, this rich nutrient soil, every year it gets washes and it deposits in the Tarai region, the lower foothills of the Himalayas, which make the foothills very rich in the quality of soil. It is very productive. If I give you the example of India, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, and all these states which are below the Himalayas, they are very rich in terms of the soil quality, and therefore the production is higher. But at the same time, the mountain soil is losing its fertility, and soil erosion is taking place, and many other environmental problems. And all these problems are also interlinked. Like in the previous slide, I showed the forest degradation, and that forest degradation leads to soil degradation. And then coming to the cases of forest fire. This is another very important environmental problem that we are facing these days. Every year, there are thousands and thousands of hectares of forests are just, they get burned during these forest fires. In Nepal, in India, every year this is common, and thousands of forest fires are reported every year. I would like to show you a small video related to this. And let me just, yeah. So this is a video of the Uttarakhand forest.
Sir, can you share the sound of this video?
Acha, okay. You hear it now? Can you hear it?
Not properly. Increase this. Yes.
Forest fires which are going on in Uttarakhand are actually polluting the local air, but since the government doesn't create even a single air quality monitoring mission such as HIPAA, so we are not able to assess how bad the air quality is in Uttarakhand right now, and we will only get to know a few months later when the magma is going to heat up in Uttarakhand. Over 1,200 hectares of forest, close to 800 cricket fields, have been burned because of 989 instances of forest fires in the last 6 months, as compared to 470 incidents of forest fires from November 2020 to this year, only 39 incidents were reported of 2019 and 2023. The Forest Survey of India reported that the active fires of the state were only second in number after Madhya Pradesh, which recorded 93. Active fires mean that it's 10 versus this year. It's important. And 2020 was a not year officially considered second position today. It is time to prepare for worse. Since the first 3 months of 2021 have been long, especially for the Himalayan landscape. Not only has rainfall been better than normal, and the temperature has also risen much higher than what was considered normal. Many Himalayan settlements have moved back to the cycle.
Yeah, so I think from the video, it was clear that, what kind of problems, apart from the forest, it leads to. It leads to soil moisture depletion and many other things like the livelihood of the people, the economic losses, the wildlife loss, the ecosystem services, which we cannot even evaluate at times. So this is about forest fire, and this is some examples from the mountains. We can see that in Nepal, almost 200,000 hectares of forest fire are lost. The forests are lost to forest fires every year. And almost last year, 2,700 forest fires were recorded. And at the same time, it leads to the air pollution, almost 15 times what WHO has recommended for PM, particulate matter 2.5, that was recorded in Nepal. And in Uttarakhand, we just saw the video here of last year. And since December 2020, 1,000 wildfires have been recorded in Uttarakhand. And for a state which has 45.44% of forest cover, in contrast to India's overall forest cover to 21.67. So you know how important these mountain forests are. But if the rate of forest fires, if it continues like this, we are going to lose our precious forest. And at the same time, according to one estimate, the 2021 wildforests in Uttarakhand alone have led to the release of these carbon, carbon dioxide to this since 2016, which is highest since 2016. Now, glacier melts, according to the latest IPCC report, they say that, there is not much, change in the glaciers, in the overall glaciers. But if we see photographs of some of the glaciers, here is a photograph of one of the glaciers taken in 1914. And the other latest photo here, we can see the change. We can see the vegetation here in the glacier region. We can see all the snow has melted. And here is another photograph of Mount Everest and Khumbu Glacier of Nepal, 1921 picture and 2008. So we can see, it depends from glaciers to glaciers, and we can see the impact of climate change on these mountain ranges. Here is Rungbuk Glacier of Tibet, and we can see the changes here. So this is another very major problem, because the melting of these glaciers will lead to flash floods downstreams. It also will impact the livelihood of the people downstream. So it's very important to have these glaciers and to work towards these. And also at the same time, the landslides are becoming very common. And the reasons may be different. There is what we discussed earlier. It may be degradation of forest. It is also the major hydro projects, the highways that are being constructed in the mountains. So here I'll be giving two examples of flash floods. And this is one of the pilgrimages, one of the most important pilgrimages of Hindu, Kedarnath. And there was a flood in 2013 due to flash flood. So one of the lakes, on top of this temple, it got burst, and there was a flash flood downstream near the temple. And it was the main time of pilgrimages visiting this place. And almost 10,000 people lost their lives in this flash flood. Then also there was this another important incident that took place in 2010 in Leh, Ladakh, which is a cold desert in India, in the north of India. And I used to work in this area. When I heard the news, I was in Delhi at that time, and when I heard that there is a flash flood in Leh, so I was surprised, and I was thinking that, how media reports, because the main river on Indus, it is below the town, and how can there be flood? Because at that time, my concept of floods was the overflowing of rivers. It leads to disasters, and it leads to, flash floods. But when I visited this place, and I saw that it was due to cloudburst, and there was debris, almost 8 feet of debris everywhere. And the construction, if you see in these photographs, the middle one and the right one, you can see the kind of construction people have over there. It is a temporary kind of construction, and all the houses where this cloudburst incident took place, they were just washed away, and more than 500 lives were lost in just a 5-minute incident. And now similar kind of incidents are taking place in the mountains. I will see if I can show you another latest video from the mountains, and it is, okay, I'll share the link later because I am unable to see it on my Google. Let me just cut this, and yeah. So coming to problems related to biodiversity now. So there is decline in the endemic species of the mountains. We can see due to climate change also, the species are moving upwards, but at the same time, there is decline of endemic species. It may be due to overexploitation as well, but also the change in the vegetation is also leading to decline in endemic species. And also we are seeing that commercial agriculture is replacing farm biodiversity. We had these crops, which were the local crops like finger millets, we had red rice, and many other indigenous crops, which are found in the mountain areas, which are found in the Himalayas. But slowly, because of commercialization and also because of climate change, now slowly people are moving on to adopting commercial agriculture. Apple has replaced these crops in Himachal, and Like similarly, kiwi also coming up. So all these new crops are coming in the mountains because they are also giving good returns. That is one thing. And also the climatic conditions are not, say very good for other crops. So also people are adopting the new crops. So this is the change in the agriculture biodiversity. And then decline in population of key species like the snow leopards. And also these kind of key species, it is also due to illegal poaching of these animals. And also, I think in nature also, there is a decline, natural, say, control of these animals, where we are seeing that these kind of animals are declining. Now, coming to another important species that are the bees. We know that bees are important, and out of 108 species that, the food species that we eat, consume for our food, 98 are pollinated by bees. So bees are very important. And as Einstein has said, that if bees disappear from our, Earth, man will vanish within 4 years. And it is only because that they are the main agents who control our biodiversity, who regulate our food biodiversity, who regulate our food production. So they have a very important role. And on the right, if you see, these are the log beehives which are prevalent in the mountains. And slowly, because of the commercial agriculture, the people have shifted to mono agriculture. There is not enough food forage for these bees, and there is a decline of bee population from these kind of regions. And I would like to tell you about Himachal, which is now known for horticulture, mainly apples. In those areas, people have altogether shifted from diverse agriculture to mono cropping. And there we have seen a drastic decline of these traditional beehives, and also the wild pollinators. And now people are dependent on beekeepers who come from the other parts of India, from the north of India, and they migrate to these places and they rent out their bees to these farmers. And a service which was free of cost, given by these bees, the wild bees or these native bees. Now people have to pay for that ecosystem services, and they have to pay almost $15 for just one box for pollination for those 15 to 20 days of pollination. So this is the the important change that we have seen in the mountains. And then also these things are leading to human wildlife conflict, because there is a decline of prey base in the forest. There is degradation of forest. There are forest fires. So the movement of the animals is more towards the human habitation. And there we see a conflict between humans and the wildlife. And here we can see, the livestock of people has been, say, killed by the leopards. It is from the foothills of the mountains. So these kind of incidents are very common now. And also, like in the foothills of Himalayas, we can see the movement of animals. The main drivers are the fragmentation of their habitats, also the cropping pattern changes that we see. And we can see on both sides there is traffic and the elephants are crossing. And recently there was an incident where these elephants were crossing, and on both sides there were people from the village, the crowd, and they were throwing crackers, they were throwing stones on the elephants. And the leader of the herd, it stopped, and at the end it chased the crowd, and one of the person, he fell down, and the elephant crushed the person, and the person died. So these kind of conflicts are very common now. And here are this is also the waste is another problem. Sorry, I missed the photograph of the waste. But waste is another important, environmental issues in the mountains. And just taking the example of Mount Everest, more than 800 climbers climb Mount Everest every year. It is almost 2 per day. And you can see the amount of the garbage that is generated in these kind of mountains. in 2019, 11 tons of waste and 10 bodies of climbers in 2 months was cleaned up in a mission by Nepalese authority. And during the pandemic, the Nepalese government, they had planned to, it was an army mission, military-driven cleanup, where they had planned to, get 35 tons of waste from the mountains. So you can imagine the kind of waste generated by these kind of say climbers alone in these kind of mountains. But at the same time, we are seeing this problem even in our towns, in our the cities that are being developed now, where there is solid waste disposal. So every town in the mountain, especially in the Himalayas, I would say, is facing the problem of waste. Then coming to climate change, which is the main drivers, and it is the cross-cutting, the driver for all what we have discussed till now. The valleys are warming up. Kullu is one of the valley in Himachal, where now we can't grow apples anymore because the local climate has changed so much that it is not suitable for growing apples, because for apples we need almost 800 hours of chilling requirement during the winters, which is not met. And so people are now moving on to kiwis and pomegranate and other problems. At the same time, there are also problems related to drying of springs, the water problem. Most of the rivers, they originate from the mountains, but at the same time, the springs are slowly declining. People have to walk more distances, especially our ladies, to get water for their household needs. Species moving upwards, as I already mentioned in my previous slides. Temperate crops are being now replaced by tropical crops, and more incidences of flash floods are reported every year. High incidences of cloudburst are happening. This year only in Uttarakhand, from where I belong to, there have been so many different incidents where people have lost their lives, people have lost their say houses and all. Melting of the glaciers, as we mentioned, and more incidences of human wildlife conflict. So all these environmental problems are causing not only the death of humans, but also property loss, economic loss, livelihoods of the people. And at the same time, I think this is an opportunity to work on these issues. And you as mountain leaders, you as ambassadors of mountains, you're already doing such a good work in all these thematic areas. And there is so much to do in the mountains in terms of research, in terms of development. And we, from this mountain summer school also, we think that all these topics which are being covered during these 9 days will help you enrich your knowledge and to take some actions in the future. Thank you so much. If there are any questions, and if we have time, Chair Sir, then we can take some questions also.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Pradeep Mehta.